Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. Today, Andy and I get the chance to interview Mr. Zero from the Kiss tribute band Kissin Time. Today is June 27th, 2022, and this will be part of our music segment. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing good. Heat calmed down a little bit, so it's a little nicer out there, but it's coming back this week and should be a good weekend.
Awesome. So this will be a good show. Now, Andy and I, Mr. Zero, are big Kiss fans going back to the early days, have been longtime Kiss fans. We promote a lot of music, concerts, bands, albums on this show. But we're looking forward to this one in particular because you're the lead singer of the band Kissin Time, a Kiss tribute band that focuses really on the first couple of albums. Tell a little bit about yourself, Mr. Zero, and what role you lead in the band. Obviously, the lead singer, but you're the Paul Stanley star child, are you not?
That is correct. Do you want me to be in character or out of character?
Oh, maybe
Whatever's
in.
easiest for you.
Maybe a little Brooklyn accent for the in character.
Well, actually, see, then you're not a big enough Kiss fan because Paul's
Queens.
from Queens.
He's Queens.
He's
Oh,
Queens.
yes.
Strike one. That's
Yes.
Strike one.
We were seeing if you were paying attention, Mr. Zero. We'd see if you're just a yes man or not.
Oh, yeah, no, I am not. I'm the
Pay attention, I like
anti-Yes
that.
fan.
So we were able to meet you guys at the last show you did, the Trib Fest. There's a photo of us here outside the Minnesota Music Cafe, and it was a Trib Fest. Tribute bands played that day over there at the Minnesota Music Cafe. Excellent experience. We got a chance to meet you guys. But like I said, tell us a little bit about the band. Yes.
First and foremost, Mr. Zeros is the creator, sponsor of the MSP Trip Fest. That's our event.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we created that. Oddly enough, there's a Duluth Tribute Fest that we tried to get into for years, and somehow we were not able to get in there. So me and my former stage guy, Michael, were throwing around ideas backstage one night, and he says, well, what's stopping us from doing our own? And I said, nothing. So we created the MSP Trip Fest in 2017, I think. 2018. And we did the first one in 2019, and then COVID hit. So, all right. So the question was, I'm sorry. The first question is
The how you got started with the band, and I know you run the band, but if you can go over the lineup, what kind of music you guys go through, and the origination of how you got involved with the costumes and the whole shebang with Kissin Time specifically.
this would be my third Kiss tribute. I did one in the early '80s called Black Diamond in Sioux City, Iowa, and then moved it to Des Moines, and then with different guys, and then I got out of the music biz for playing wise for over 2 decades because I'd had enough with musicians. And a crazy story how this got started, this Kissin' Time. I have the store Mr. Zero's, and I've done a lot of local press for TV and radio and some movies and magazines and newspapers, blah, 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 blah. And a guy had seen me in the City Pages, which is no longer, and he brought in his Gene Simmons 1977 Love Gun costume to sell, and a bunch of Kiss memorabilia. And I said, "You're not getting into Kiss anymore, huh?" And he goes, "Ah." And I said, "You're not doing the Kiss tribute anymore?" And he goes, "Can't find a Paul." And I said, "Oh." And I started to laugh, and he goes, "Why, do you know one?" I said, "Well, I was one." And he looked at me and he goes, "Well, that must have been a long time ago." And I said, "We're not getting off to a good start here." So we were talking, and the truth be known, when I look back, I that was the heaviest I'd ever been, and I hadn't played music in a long time. And so I get where he was coming from. And I don't really dress like a rock star when I'm working or on the street. You know, it's a job. So Vince Neil of Motley Crue once said, "Hey, we're not like Kiss. We dress like this all the time." Whereas they walk in street clothes and walk out as Kiss. And Kiss had pointed out numerous times that was in their favor because they could go anywhere they wanted and almost nobody would bother them. So anyway, the guy's talking to me and he's like, you want to come down? He had just auditioned for Hairball and didn't get the job, but he was jamming with a couple of the guys from Hairball at one of their practice spaces. And he said, you want to come down and jam with us? And I said, no. I said, I don't do that anymore. I'm not interested in playing anymore. And he's like, really, why? And I said, I can't take the inconsistency of musicians. I have no tolerance for it. And he said, come on. I'm like, nope. So he left, and then he called me. Within the next 3 days, I don't remember if it was the next day or 3 days later, but he called me and he said, hey, man, we're playing down at this club. We'd like you to come down and audition with us. He had another band, which is still going, but he's not in it. Hollywood Boulevard was his band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he said, Hollywood's playing Lee's. We'd like you to come down and audition for this Kiss band that I'm putting together. We want to do Strutter, and we want you to come down and audition. And I said, no, thanks, but no thanks. I'm flattered that you're interested and you're asking me, but I'm just not really, I don't want to do that anymore. And this gal that used to shop in here, who was kind of a friend of mine, big music scene fan, happened to come in that day, and she was talking to me, and I said, hey, these guys are playing down there at Lee's tonight. She goes, really? And she was extremely attractive, rounded up all her friends, and they went down and watched the band. And he calls me the next day, and he goes, dude, we're disappointed you didn't show up, but we had to call you and thank you for sending down those half a dozen good-looking chicks last night. And I go, yeah, no problem. And he said, I'm still interested if you're interested. And I said, no. And a couple weeks had gone by, and I noticed that I was thinking about it more, and I didn't really have anything going on. The fact of the matter is I had just lost my house to foreclosure, and so I was kind of sitting around, and I was like, oh, man, I got really nothing to do. So I called him up, and I said, hey, I'm willing to audition now. And he says, well, great. Meet me over in South Minnie at this house, and we'll run through some tunes. I go, fine. So I went over there, and it was like everything involved with this situation. It's all weird. I show up at this house. It's a fairly nice house. We walk in. It is empty. There's nothing in this house. And we go upstairs and go up another set of stairs to this top third floor bedroom where he lived. And the guy had a coffee maker, a TV, and a bed, and his guitar amp, and that was it. And this whole house is empty, and it's solid woodwork everywhere. And we started playing, and everything just echoed and thundered through this house because it was empty, and there's nothing in it but him and I. And we ran through about 5 tunes, and he stood up and looked at me, and he goes, well, you got the voice. And then he walked out the door, and he goes, I need you to work on your guitar. And I said, I told you I haven't played in decades. And he goes, I think we got something here. And he goes, I know a drummer, and let's work out some tunes before we bring him in because he's semi-pro. I said, fine. So and this is a really cool thing. When I was a kid, my mom said to me, I'm from Sioux City, Iowa, but I kind of grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, too. And when I was in Jackson in junior high, my mom said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a Kiss. She goes, well, there's already a Kiss. And I go, nah, Ma. I said, by the time I get old enough, nobody will remember those guys, and I'll do something similar. And she's like, uh-huh. But one day I called my mom, and I said, well, Ma, I got to do it. I'm in Kiss. And she said, yeah, your dream came true. So the cool thing about Kissin Time is it very much followed exactly what Kiss went through, but on a much micro level, and including it was just the Gene and I starting out. going through songs. And then I can't remember unfortunately, the weird thing is when I interview people, you know, I'm asking for dates and facts and all this stuff, and I'm on it. And I used to be surprised that they didn't have better memories until I got in the driver's seat. Now people ask me stuff, and I kind of like, I think it was around, and this is one of the cases right here, because it was, you know, it's Paul and Gene working on tunes. I think we had, I'm pretty sure it was like 5 tunes, much like their demo. I do remember the 5 tunes, though. It was Dew Strutter, Parasite, Cold Chin, and I think Got to Choose were the 5 that we were doing. And then he knew this drummer through this guitar player. The guitar player was interested in being Ace, and but the drummer was the one that came down first, and it happened to be Minnesota Pete Campbell from St. Cloud, who's in Pentagram, touring the world as we speak.
Wow.
Which is why he's not in Kissin Time anymore, because his commitments with Pentagram kept getting, he'd have to leave all the time and leave the country. So it led to the guy that we have currently, which I'll discuss the lineup in a minute. Anyway, we moved out of that house in Minneapolis because I guess it's sold or something. I don't know. Remember I told you it was empty. And we were down at Track Studio, and the bass player, the Gene of the band, happened to know the owner of Tracks, and got us the biggest room in the building. And we, 2 of the guys from Hairball were hanging. We were hanging with them more than them hanging with us. We were hanging with them, and it was at a really cool, weird stage for everybody, because Hairball was upgrading their show and casting an awful lot of their costumes and props and wigs. And they said, well, you guys are getting this started. You need some help. Let us help you out. And so Hairball actually contributed to getting this off the ground.
Okay.
And then one step further, Joe Dandy, who's still in Hairball, came down and helped build a stage in this rehearsal space down at Tracks. We had a stage built there where we started the first part of the Kissin Time stage with the sign and the fake cabinets. Oops, I shouldn't have said that out loud. And that's another great story a little bit later. We had a stage in there, and we started from there. We built the stage, and we practiced on this stage. And then my memory is, before any of that happened, it was really cold out. So I don't know if Minnesota Pete came in late September, October, or early November. I just remember it was fall. It was really cold out, and when we went into this rehearsal space, it was all brick. There was nothing in there, and the sound just was atrocious because everything's bouncing off the walls. And I remember the first rehearsal we did with Pete, we didn't have a full PA, and we got done doing like 5 songs or 6 songs. I think by that time we had Lover All I Can in there, and we took a break because Pete was a smoker, and we went outside, and Pete said on the way out, and he goes, "This guy doesn't even need a PA," and he was pointing at me. He's like, "That dude's so fucking loud." Oops. There's a podcast. You can edit that out.
Yeah, we're live.
No, we're not live.
It's tape, but Pastor just listens to the sports part, not the music part, so we're okay.
Then he was talking. He's like, "Man," he goes, "this dude's voice is unbelievable." And hang on one second, guys.
No problem. So for the listeners out there, this Kissin Time is really the name of the band is taken from an early song from their first album called Kissin Time.
So
Go ahead.
They were talking about how loud, how my voice projected, and then the 3 of us rehearsed for a while, exactly like Gene, Paul, and Peter did. And the guy that brought us Pete was going to be Ace, but he showed up for a few practices, and then he just pulled me aside one night and he goes, dude, he goes, I'm not into this. He goes, I don't look enough like Ace, and I don't want this to be, I want this to be, pro, spot on, and not look,
half-assed.
Yeah. And he said, I'll fill in and help you find a guy, but, I'm just wanting to let you know that this is, I'm not going to stay. And that was Mick Rotella, who I'm still friends with today. And, we owe him a lot because he brought in Minnesota Pete. Well, I do remember we took a Christmas break. I remember that because we got back together after Christmas. And I was walking in, setting up down at tracks, and this tall guy with long hair walks in and just starts setting up. And I looked over and I thought, oh, I'm being replaced. And because he started setting up kind of where I usually set up. And I was like, okay. And I didn't really know what to say. And I had been out of the circuit for a long time, so I knew they could find anybody better than me. And I just said, so who are you? And he says, I'm Paul. And I said, yeah, okay. But that's his real name. And I said, well, you jamming with us tonight? And he goes, yeah, that's what they tell me. It was pretty quiet, and he was kind of sarcastic and curt, which I appreciated. So we started off the usual 6 that I already named, and he just blew through them. And 1 second, please.
Yeah.
There are more soundtracks in the back corner. Those aren't priced yet. They are for sale. We just don't have prices on them. You're welcome to dig through them. Yep. You see anything you want, you're interested, bring it up. I'll get you a price on it. Sorry, guys. We're back.
No problem.
So we blasted through them, and I'm like, this can't be happening, because the guy stood like Ace, played like Ace, his facial expressions were like Ace, and he's not even in costume. And I'm like, I went over to the bass player and I said, I got to keep this guy. And he goes, you need to keep your mouth shut, because he just came down to try this out, to see what's going on. We can't pressure him. And I said, all right. And so I'm like, so who are you? And he says, I'm Paul Helms. And I said, well, you do this pretty good. And he goes, I ought to. I was Ace and Kiss Army for 12, 13 years. And I said, oh, well, that explains it. And he left, and we didn't really know what was going to happen. And a week or so later, practice again, and he shows up. And I said, you in? And he goes, we'll see. And it was magic. And it was just magic. And I do remember, and it's written down somewhere, our first full gig was Lee's February 14th, February of 2014, which was the anniversary of the first Kiss album in February of '74, and we kind of rode on that for our for the advertising. We had done a couple of things, partial things prior to that. One in, hang on 1 second. How are we doing today? VHS. 8 tracks. We only take them if you get them to us. We don't buy them. If you want to give them to us, we don't buy them. Okay. Thank you. So we did a couple of partial things before that February gig. There was a October gig in 2013, and then it was a Halloween gig, and then something else like Thanksgiving of 2013. But the first full show was February 2014, the anniversary of the first Kiss album. And a cool thing was, I read an article with Gene in the late 80s. They were talking to him about touring and set lists, and he goes, he goes, I can tell you the set list for our first tour. And they said, you have it written down? He goes, no, I have it memorized. And he listed it off, and I thought, that is so cool. And that's what got me interested in logging all the set lists for all the concerts. I eventually ended up working on a book, Kiss Alive Forever. That's a different story. but I do remember the first set list we did, pretty much in the order that we did it. As somebody asked me about it the other day, and I said, oh yeah, it went like this. And so we did, the idea was, one second. That's kind of hard to come by because it was vinyl ended in '87 and cassettes were selling then. We've had it, but it's not easy to come by. Yeah. So the idea was the bass player said, look, you know, look at all the Kiss tributes out there. There's Strutter and Kiss Army and Mr. Speed and Hotter Than Hell and Dressed to Kill and Destroyer and, you know, on and on and on. And he goes, and all those guys got big money tied up into their shows. And we don't have that right now. So what if we recreate the first tour, because nobody's done that. And I just started chuckling, and I said, well, that was my Black Diamond band. We only did the first 3 records. And he said, really? And I said, you know, kind of the same thing. We didn't have the money, and, you know, we just wanted to do the first 3 because that's the 3 that I liked. And we were all in agreement. And so, but he wanted to do the first tour, and I had to point out to him, being a historian that worked on Kiss Alive Forever, I go, dude, I said, right here and now, you're going to have to do Simple Types, Keep Me Waiting off the Wicked Lester album. You're going to have to do Life in the Woods, which was done in '73 and never recorded on an album. And I don't even know what that song sounds like, so how are we going to do that? And then we settled on, well, maybe we got to do the '74, '75 tour, Hotter Than Hell. And I said, okay. And I said, well, I want to call the band Kissin Time. And he said, no, we're going to call it Rock and Roll All Night. And I said, dude, not only is that a bad name, there's already a Minneapolis band that was called that. They're going to think we're the same band, and we're not. And many years later, the Gene from that Rock and Roll All Night called me to audition for Kissin Time. And anyway, the first few shows were billed as Rock and Roll All Night because it was whoever made the poster the quickest, the fastest. Okay. If I made a poster, it said Kissin Time. If that Gene made it, it was called Rock and Roll All Night. So we did that for about 6 months. And the ace in the band, Paul Helms, God bless him, he's like a brother to me. He said, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. I've done it for over a decade, and I'm a little burned out on it. And I don't even really want to play music anymore. And I'm like, wow, dude, you know, you're great. You know, we love you. You got to stay. And he's like, no. He said, I really am done. Oh, hey, Phil. Is that one piece or? Oh, okay. Thank you. Ordinarily, we're never busy at this time, but of course I'm on phone. So, Paul left, and then we had to find a replacement, and we found a guy. He did not work out so well, and I'm not going to talk. That's really all I'm going to say about that. And then Minnesota Pete kept having to go to Europe with Pentagram. And this guy that I knew kept calling me, and he's like, I know a guy that wants to play in your band. And I said, yeah. And thanks, Phil. Is that it? But wait, there's more. Order now. And okay, so that goes like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Awesome. That it? Okay. Just bring him in. So I said, I knew these guys, and I'm like, yeah, so who? And they go, well, this Heavy Kevy. And I go, the Beatles guy? And they're like, yeah, he's great. And I'm like, I've seen him. He's Beatles guy. I said, you know, Peter had a different style. And I said, but so did Ringo. And those two I don't know, man, the music, and they're like, nah, you got to give him a chance. And Kissin Time was asked to play a small gig for this birthday party. And my three guys said, are you kidding me? Oh my God, we can absolutely use those. 100%. Kissin Time was asked to do this small birthday party, and the other guys said no. But this guy that was trying to get Heavy Kevy in our band said, hey, what if we do a Paul Stanley solo show? And I said, yeah, I'm listening. And he goes, I'll be your bass player. We'll get Kevy on drums. And, oh, yeah. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Phil. All right. We can always use that. Recycling. Thanks, Phil. Good luck with the move. They said, hang on. How you doing today? What are you looking for today? Can we hang on to your backpack while you shop? We got to ask everybody. Just set it right there, right there. There you go. Thank you. He said, I'll play bass. We'll get Kenny on drums. And then I said, we can get Mick Rotella to play guitar. And I started laughing. And I said, they're like, you know Mick? And I said, yeah, I know Mick. If you guys remember, he was in the beginning of this story.
Right. Yep.
So I said, yeah, okay. So we rehearsed a couple times, and we did about a half hour. That set list, I got it written down somewhere, but I don't have it memorized. But I do remember we did a lot more non-Paul songs than we did Paul songs. And somebody asked me why, and I said, well, in Kiss, I got to sing the Paul songs. So if I'm not doing a Kiss show, I want to sing the other songs. So we did this show, and I was like, wow, they were right about you, Heavy Kevy. You're unbelievable. And he's like, well, yeah, keep me in mind. If something comes up, okay. Well, a month later, Minnesota Pete had to go to Sweden, so I called Heavy Kevy and said, here's your chance. And by this time, we'd replaced the one ace, and we were on to a guy named Jace Youngs, and who was really great. He looked like Ace. He played like Ace. It was just natural. And that story, crazy story on there, they're all crazy stories. I had a band called Mr. Zero, and they were, the three of them, there was four of us, and the other three were in Capitol Guitars, where this guy walks in, starts playing Ace tunes, walks up to the counter and says, who's this Kissin Time? And they're like, why? And he goes, I'm trying to find him. I want to audition for that band. I heard they need a new guitar player. And my three guys were standing on the other side, and they're like, follow us. So they brought him in, and he walks right up to me, and he goes, I'm your new ace. I said, is that so? He goes, yeah. And I said, when he walked away for a second, I asked my three guys from Mr. Zero, I said, the band, not the store, the band. I said, is he any good? And they're like, dude, he's got the chops. I said, all right. So I went down and auditioned him, and he was great. And we brought him on. We played Rockfest with him, and he was great till he didn't want to do it anymore. The average lifespan of a guy in this band is 2.5 years besides me. I'm the only one that's been there 9 years. Minnesota Pete did 5 years, and Heavy Kevy's going on 5 years. But besides that, it's pretty much me. 2.5 years, and they just kind of burn out. It's a lot of work to do the makeup and the costume upkeep, because you got to fix your costume after every show, and it takes a lot out of you, to first of all, to wear a 10, 15-pound costume and a wig and makeup and all that crap. And anyway, we bring the guys down to, what was that place called? I don't know, Profile, maybe something. And the other two guys are like going, I don't know about this guy. That's the Beatles guy. And I said, look, trust me. I just did a gig with him. He's the one. Third song in, they looked at me and they just nodded. And Heavy Kevy took over for Minnesota Pete in about, I think it was December 2017. And then we kind of alternated between those two guys until Pete eventually left because he got married and had a baby. And then the first bass player, he's stuck it out till about a year. He left in October of 2015. And the guitar player we had at the time knew a guy. We brought this guy, Joe Marvelous, in. And it was crazy. Joe was really tall and thin and quiet, never spoke. And somebody said to me one night, he said, hey, Gene doesn't speak very much. And I said, yeah, about 3 times a night. And while he and I shared the same makeup table, and I told him the story, and he looks at me and he goes, that's being generous. And I said, all right, you got 2 left, 2 sentences left. But when he hit the stage, man, he was Gene. It was awesome. And but Joe had a wife and kid, and he just didn't want to do it. So we brought in Zen McGuire, and Zen was with us for about 2.5 years. Sad but true, Zen's wife was killed, and couldn't continue with the band. Just, life changes. And then we got the guy, which you asked me about lineup. So while I was doing my Paul Stanley solo gig with almost every other band in town, ACT, the Ace Frehley Band, Hollywood Boulevard, Rock Gods, Mad Mike's Funhouse, Rough House, almost Back Alley, almost every other band, they would have me come out and do this Paul Stanley solo show. Well, at Hollywood Boulevard, Gonzo came to me one night, and he's like, you ever needed a fill-in for Gene? And I'm like, nah. But I knew Zen was leaving, so I just kept it in the back of my mind. And pretty close to the same time, Jimmy, Top Jimmy, who we got now, came to me and said, you ever needed a sub for Ace? And I said, nah. But I knew that Jace was going to be leaving soon, because it was that 2.5-year mark. And they both left at about the same time, so I brought him in, and that's the current lineup since November 2020 is Gonzo Simmons as Gene Simmons, Heavy Kevy as Peter Criss since, like I said, December 2017 in that ballpark. And Top Jimmy was like November 2020. And we did a showcase up in Fridley, and my old booking agent, who had booked me with Mr. Zero and Kissin Time, came up to me and he's like, dude, this is the best lineup you've ever had. And I said, well, yeah, then take us back on your roster. And he's like, yeah, I'll think about it. And I said, well, if we're as good as you say we are. Well, he booked us at Hinckley Casino on Sunday, so there you go. There you go. So the thing about why we did, I kind of touched on it the early show, because we didn't have the money for the props, and you can't really do pyro in the small clubs anymore, and you really can't at all, because we have pyro. Yeah, we have pyro and Gonzo does spit fire, but some of the places we can't even do confetti or the smoking guitar. They're just like, nope, 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 nope. One place didn't even want us to do the blood spitting during 100,000 Years. And I thought, so you want a Kiss band? What, you just want us to stand there and sing Heaven's on Fire? Is that what you're looking for? Domino and Beth. And I said, you don't want the show. But some places have let us do it all. And we never really know until like about a half hour before we go on what they're going to green light. Because the thing that just struck me as odd was like no confetti. And this hotel we were playing at in Bloomington, there was a band played there. They shot confetti and they used fog, and the fog dampened the confetti, and the confetti soaked into the carpet and ruined the carpet. Okay. So they said, yeah, no confetti, no fog, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But anyway, so the early show didn't have a lot of, it relied more heavily on the makeup, costumes, and the songs. But and in the first, this is what was so dumb about the idea of the first Gene calling us Rock and Roll All Night. We did not play Rock and Roll All Night. And I'm like, do you realize what a misstep this is? I said, Pete, they're going to expect to hear this. No, don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, that's why if I could get the poster out before him, I would use the name Kissin Time. And, because he and I are both artists. He's better than me. In all fairness, he was better than me, but I was quicker than him. So anyway, but very, very quickly, I realized, there's only 20 songs on those first two records, and we were doing about 11 or 12 of them because we were doing an under an hour set. The whole idea for us was to emulate Kiss as an opening act, so there'd be one or two other bands on the bill. And we weren't doing Keep Me Waiting, Simple Types, or even Life in the Woods. The miraculous thing, though, was when somebody saw the ad. Actually, it was Tommy Summers of Three Sides of the Coin. He saw the ad that we were doing the first tour, and he said, "You can do Life in the Woods?" I go, "Dude, I've never even heard that song, so how can we do it?" And he goes, "I got it." He gave me a copy of it, so I got to hear it for the first time. And we worked it up, and we've done it in practice. How you doing today? We've done it in practice with over the years, but we never got to do it live, which is a huge disappointment for me. But I get it, it's not a dictatorship, but it's not democracy either. But if I got three guys going, no, I can't really say yeah. But we've done it in practice, just not in a show. And so pretty quickly, I started talking to the guys. And hang on one second. What game are you looking for? Okay. Yep. So pretty quickly, we started reaching into Dress to Kill. A lot of people don't realize that She and Love Her All I Can, though they were on the third album, were actually on the first tour. Okay. They had those songs in Wicked Lester, and they were doing them on the first tour in '73. So those were always with us. And then I said, look, guys, we got to end with Rock and Roll All Night. There's just no other way. And nobody wanted to do it, so my idea to make it more interesting was, one second. What were you looking for today, dude? Oh. What we were doing to make it interesting, we did it unplugged, where each guy sang one verse, and everybody seemed to like that. And that's how we did it for a long time. And then the thing that started to break the mold was we wanted to do one Ace song, and everybody wanted to do Shock Me, and I'm like, no. I said, if we're going to do an Ace song, we're going to do Rip It Out. They go, well, that's from his solo album. And I said, even though it's from his solo album, he wrote it in 1968 when he was with Magic People, and the lead singer of the band, Larry Kelly, wrote the lyrics, and Ace wrote the music. And one time, Kissin Time was opening for Ace in New Hope, and I got to ask him about that. I said, hey, Rip It Out. He says, yeah. I said, Magic People. And he goes, yeah. How do you know that? And I said, Larry Kelly was your singer, and he's co-writer. And he goes, yeah, I had a lot of songs sitting around that those guys didn't want to use. And so we started, the first mold breaker of the first three records was Rip It Out. Because I felt it was an old enough song that it fit the idea of the older. And then it kind of expanded from there when I was doing the Paul Stanley solo shows. I started doing songs that Kissin Time did not do, like Detroit Rock City and Shout It Out Loud and things like that. And the other guys in the band were like, they started to hear about it, and they're like, well, do you want to work those in? And I said, no, not really. And but we just, whenever we do a show, we'd constantly get asked for, where's Shout Out Loud? Where's Detroit Rock City? Where's Beth? Where's Calling Dr. Love? Where's Love Gun and Christine 16? And I was like, well,